guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Karen Blocks Homeowners to Get Into Their Homes. Hi, this is a story from one of my mother's friends. She lives in a private residential complex. This is something similar to an HOA in America, but not exactly. This is a number of houses, possibly built on the land of a single person, with a walled enclosure, and that can be accessed through a main gate. The people who buy houses there usually have to pay some money monthly to the residential complex administration. I live in one of these, but we don't pay anything because there is not such organization in the complex where I live, because everybody hates each other and can't organize. These residential complexes are quite common in my country. My mom has a friend who lives in a private residential complex in my city. She told us once the story about a Karen who was the president of the complex administration. This Karen would constantly harass the homeowners for the monthly payments, and everybody hated her for that. The thing is that this Karen would give specific instructions to the security guards on the main gate, to do not let in any owner who have a delay in payment. Yes, she expects the owners to pay on time, or wouldn't let them get in their homes. Also, wouldn't let anyone in after 10 p.m., no matter if they are up to the payment or not. My mom's friend has a daughter in school. One day, the daughter came back from school, but when she got to the main gate, there was Karen, and she would not let the child in, because the mom had a one-day delay on the payment. The child ended up going to her grandma's house, until the mom could pick her up and take her home. One day, everybody was tired of Karen, so they gathered, and took the entire gate down, leaving it free for anyone to come in. Also, they were preparing to sue Karen. I don't know what happened next, but I think my mom's friend moved out somewhere else, even since. The next story is titled, HOA Next Door Tries to Enforce Their Rules on Me. Try again, fool. I purchased my house in 2015. Not even a thought of an HOA in the village. At the time, my neighbors were the cemetery to the west, 5 acres of woodland to the north, neighbor's house 200 feet away to the east and south frontage onto a secondary highway, with land dropping off on the far side. Ideal location for compromising hub's mentality of middle of nowhere, anti-social stance and my wanting at least neighbors within screaming distance. Fast forward to 2021. Land parcel to the north sold to some numbered company. Then, the one neighbor we had listed his house for sale. As discovered, after the fact, Mark sincerely apologized. When he realized what happened, the same company bought his house and land in early 2022. They razed his house and outbuildings and applied for rezoning. So far, nothing concerns me. Well, they start subdividing the land for lots, applied to have road allowances and water services. No wastewater service available, because, rural village. This means, to those not familiar, that they have to allow square footage on the lots for a septic system, which for a 2-bed, 2-bathroom house is minimum 750 square feet, with a specific setback from the adjacent property lines. Also, the township I live has no requirements for fence permits, just height rules for front line of house line, 4 feet, versus backyard, 6 feet. And you may not install the fence over the property line, and unless agreed upon in writing prior to fence installation, it may not be installed on the property line with the adjoining neighbor being responsible for cost and/or maintenance. Well, so far, I have been given notice of variance application to have the 2 houses planned next to me have their septic beds closer to my property line than township bylaws allow. Legal notice to allow fencing to be built on the property line, with 1/2 the linear cost be assigned to 123 I Bay C Dr., my address. Notice from the developer's lawyers that I, as an adjacent property, will be required to abide by their neighborhood aesthetic requirements, which comes down to rules on house, garage, outbuilding colors, vehicles allowed on property, and color of flowers allowed in publicly visible flower beds, red, white and blue, only. Excuse me? I live in Canada. Red, white maybe, but blue? Yeah, right. Try again. I bought this house without deed restrictions. My name is Karen. I am the original 1967 version. My mother had a premonition about the bewitch I would grow up to be. Bring it on. Update. Township council meetings are on the 15th of each month. Last night I attended, as this was when the variance application for the development next door was to be discussed, decided on. Sat through 2 very boring hours of other business when it came to the developer's turn to explain why they needed the variance. It came down to, because the septic beds would need to be raised due to water table heights, moving the septics further back on the lots would allow additional flat area between the houses and the septic beds so that future homeowners would have more room to install things like an above-ground swimming pool. For those not familiar, putting a swimming pool on a septic bed is a bad thing. First question council asked after the developer went through their arguments, any objections to this variance request? I stood, voiced my objections. These are 1/4 acre lots, it is not a space issue, and wanting more room for toys is not a valid reason for a variance for an item that could have environmental impact on my property. Variance denied. The next story is titled, EP calls cops on kids, even though she was trespassing. Yes, it is as stupid as it sounds. Back when I was between the ages of 5 to 7, I don't remember exactly. A lady, EP, came over to my house while me and my friend were in my pool, when an EP started stuff, and called the cops on us. Now for a little backstory. I live in an area where a huge green belt, a large open area of land, is. Nothing is there, just grass, so I have an area that sees right into it, and we put our pool up each summer. One day I was in the pool with my friend who's a few years older, and everything was fine until this happened. Me and friend were just playing Marco Polo when some lady, EP, came over onto my property and nobody noticed her at the time, until she started randomly yelling at us saying how we were being too loud and that if we didn't quiet down she was going to call the cops on us. EP. I can hear you from all the way across the field. It's not a field, by the way. If you do not shut up and be quiet, I will call the police. We weren't even being loud either. Keep in mind she has to walk roughly half a mile through damp grass and mud to get to my backyard, when we weren't even being loud, and me being the snotty brat I was back then gave her the middle finger. I don't know why I did. She didn't like that and attempted to hit me, before running off crying like a baby, when she couldn't reach me. Cops later ended up showing up at my house stating someone called saying people were running around yelling at and assaulting someone. Nice cop. We had a call stating 2 kids were chasing a lady around yelling at her and verbally assaulting her. Friend. That isn't true. We were in the pool when some lady came and told us to be quiet or she would call the cops. But it's private property and she was trespassing on it. We weren't even being loud. Thankfully we had cameras that proved at the timestamp some lady, who turned out to be the caller, came onto our property. The camera also caught her coming to our property, through the greenbelt just to yell at us. The cop decided to go talk to her. She ended up getting fined for making a false 911 call and was warned for attempting to hit me. My grandma, the owner of the house at the time, was asked if she wanted to press charges on her for trespassing and destroying her flowers. She said no, but that she wants the lady to have to never be near our house again. The lady didn't like that. EP. My dog likes this spot. Nice cop. That doesn't matter, and that if she returned, she would be arrested for trespassing. Note we had never seen her nor her dog before, but turns out she lives on the other side of the greenbelt and saw us playing and wanted to start stuff. The next story is titled, Partner's Grandma Feels Entitled to Violate My Boundaries Anytime She Feels Like It. I feel so suffocated at this point I'm legitimately close to having a mental breakdown. I, 31 female, started dating my partner, 26 male, a couple years ago long distance and recently moved to his country. I spent over $10,000 on a visa, went back to school here for 9 months to get certified in healthcare work, and am now working full-time. Basically, did everything right and by the book. Unfortunately, there's a housing shortage here and me, him, his mum, and his grandparents were all forced to chip in and move into a house together. It is extremely crowded. As an extreme introvert with severe social anxiety who lived alone for the last 10 years, it's become a nightmare situation for me. But I just grit and bear it because we don't have a choice. I might have been able to stand it if his grandma wasn't completely bombarding me non-stop, incessantly, at all hours of the day. I literally cannot leave my room with a sudden barrage of, "Your milk is expiring in 4 days, did you notice that? It's gonna be hot this week. The humidity is gonna be 80% and it's raining on Friday." The humidity is what really gets you though. Have you checked the weather? What time is your partner getting home on this random day of the week? Has he gotten his schedule yet? Has he eaten yet? Why don't you cook him something? Is he sleeping? What's he doing? It is ducking endless and it's 99% of the time shit that does not need to be communicated with me. It's like a nightmare, endless stream of useless thoughts. People have told her nicely to stop, she won't ducking stop. It's gotten to the point that I stay in my bedroom unless I absolutely have to go out because I have such massive anxiety about being totally bombarded the second I leave my room. I can't even wake up and make a coffee in the morning without knowing my social battery is about to be drained to ducking zero immediately. Like I'm clearly not even fully awake and I get completely bombarded, and if I don't respond she'll just aggressively repeat what she said until I respond or shame me for not wanting to talk. I have bad anxiety about using the bathroom now too, because the second I go to use it she'll come through the hall and start doing laundry less than a foot from the bathroom door, and the walls are paper thin. It's like I get to the bathroom, and I'm not even sat down yet, but I have to just leave the bathroom for another hour until she's done so I can use it in peace. I feel like an absolute prisoner in my own home. She's also taken to invading our bedroom when we're at work and tidying up, which I am absolutely not okay with. I'm in my 30s, I'm not related to this woman, I don't want her violating my personal space and going through my belongings. I've also had to buy a lock for my laundry basket because we've asked her several times not to do my laundry when I'm out, but she does it anyway. I absolutely do not want this woman touching my underwear and handling my clothes. Whenever she does that, I put it back in the laundry basket anyway because I have mild OCD and can't wear clothes that some random woman has been handling without my permission. It feels so violating. Multiple people have asked her to stop going into people's rooms, but she feels entitled to because she sees us, an adult couple, as children whose boundaries are just optional for her to respect. All that being said, I've brought up these issues with my partner multiple times and he refuses to even listen at this point because he sees her as this sweet old lady who's just trying to help. It's like as long as her intentions are good, she's allowed to continuously violate me and my boundaries and push me closer to a mental breakdown, and I'm just not allowed to mention how much it's affecting me because that makes me a negative, ungrateful witch. The other day she was bombarding everyone the second they woke up, and he mentioned it in the group chat we have with his mum and sister. She did the same to me when I woke up, so I messaged him privately like, yeah, she did the same to me when I got up too, and he started going, she's old, give her a break. I told him I'm allowed to be annoyed by someone violating my boundaries, just like he was annoyed this morning too, and he told me, you need to stop complaining. It is what it is. Just drop this whole violating your boundaries thing. I don't want to be made to feel like I should have a problem with it when you're the only one who has a problem with it. And then told me, just talk to a professional if it's affecting your mental health. I was beyond horrified and am still horrified that he thinks the solution to my boundaries not being respected is for me to go pay for a therapist to try and get over it. As if the one making me feel so violated in my own home isn't the problem. I'm the one who has to suck it up and go seek mental health help so that she's free to violate me whenever she wants. It just feels so backwards, and I feel like I can't breathe in this place, my own home that's supposed to feel like a sanctuary where I can go and be at peace. I haven't felt a single moment of peace since I moved in here because she never leaves, and she never gives me a moment of space if I leave my room. It is a nightmare at this point. I'm not sure what I'm looking for with this, maybe just some validation because I feel like I'm going crazy. Moving out isn't an option either because there just aren't any homes left. They've all been bought up by foreign investors and turned into Airbnbs, and moving back to my home country isn't an option either, because I'm not willing to move back to a country that's just banned abortion and repealed child labor laws. I'm just so close to a breaking point though, and I'm sick of being made out to be the bad guy for desperately asking for the most basic human boundaries to be respected, but this woman feels entitled to just act however she wants with no respect to anyone else in the home. And she gets away with it because her intentions are good. The last story is titled, Table of Broken Promises. As I started a new project at home, I stumbled on some pieces of handmade table and decided to use them instead of buying material. The past of this table has thus been in my mind again. I think I haven't written about it yet. So back when I was studying carpentry, it was my third and final year. I was late on assignments because of my first-year teacher. He denied each plan on everything, telling it's too hard or too easy, so time went by, and I never got to do any work. As a table was a mandatory piece and I had no use for a table, my roommate said she would order a custom-made table from me. New teacher gave permission right away after seeing the plan. We made a deal for a price, and I started working. I made a beautiful table from 3 different wood, staining some of it black and leaving some clear. Painted a custom picture on top under the finishing. Teacher liked my work. Asked how much I asked for it and said it's not enough. I said a deal is a deal, I don't earn from this but don't pay the lumber from pocket either. My roommate got her table and was happy with it. I got a good grade. Time went by and she never paid the table. I had to pay materials for school, and it ruined my financial situation for a while. She moved away and didn't have the money. Moved again and I learned she had the table in turn inside and outside, so from heated and dry to cold and moist. Then she had her father bring the table back in pieces. The glue had given up, which I guessed would happen with fast changes in climate around the table. He asked about a guarantee. I answered that the table should be paid first. He left the table. During all this my roommate was studying jewelry making. So, I made an order for a silver necklace. She never told me any price, just that she'd have to raise it several times. Then she asked if we'd just make a switch, a necklace for a table. I told her to keep the necklace. Materials for the table were around $300, not my currency but close to amount, and I am not paying that for a first-year student-made small silver necklace. I've been looking for similar pieces and from a professional I would get it for $80. I asked for the money for the table several times but now after 10 years I think I can renew the table up to my own. All this time it has been a bad memory, laying in pieces on my way. One lost friend, one past mistake. I will sand it, fix it and finish it and consider it just my student work as a carpenter. Thank you for listening.